There are few world leaders facing a more daunting challenge than Argentina's new president, Javier Milei. Argentina was once one of the world's wealthiest nations, but decades of economic mismanagement have led it into a cycle of crisis after crisis. Last year, Milei, an economist with radical libertarian ideas, was elected on the promise of a painful but necessary restructuring. His campaign message was brutally honest. Argentina could no longer afford to act like a wealthy country when it wasn't one. The nation had been living on borrowed money for too long, maintaining an unsustainable standard of living while its economy declined. His solution? Major cuts to government spending, the elimination of subsidies, privatization of state-owned enterprises, and deregulation to attract foreign investment. These reforms meant an immediate and drastic reduction in public services, higher costs for necessities, and economic pain for most Argentinians. Yet, the hope was that these measures would end the cycle of inflation, debt crises, and stagnation that had plagued Argentina for generations. A year later, has it worked? Argentina has gone through multiple cycles of prosperity and collapse. The 20th century saw it shift from one of the richest nations to a country that repeatedly failed to modernize sustainably. Governments promised development but funded it with unsustainable debt, leading to a constant need for bailouts, especially from institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Over the last 50 years, Argentina has changed its currency 6 times due to rampant inflation. Today, the peso is so unreliable that many Argentinians conduct transactions in US dollars. Milei's government aims to break this cycle. Instead of financing short-term growth with borrowed money, his approach is to drastically cut public spending and force the economy to rebuild on a more sustainable foundation. His supporters argue that past economic policies have failed, and radical measures are needed to restore credibility. What has Milei actually done? From day one, Milei moved aggressively to reduce government bloat. The number of federal ministries was cut in half, key state-owned enterprises are being privatized, and subsidies on utilities like electricity, water, and gas have been slashed. The results? Argentina has, for the first time in years, collected more in taxes than it has spent. Inflation, which had reached over 200%, is finally slowing. Foreign investors, long wary of Argentina's instability, are showing renewed interest. However, these successes come at a steep cost. With subsidies removed, utility bills and transport costs have skyrocketed. Tens of thousands of government jobs have been eliminated, causing widespread unemployment. The economy is in a deep recession, and the immediate impact on ordinary citizens has been severe.
You receive your salary, do you spend as much?
As much I can, because the next month is gonna be really hard to buy stuff.
La gasto inmediatamente, invierto, es decir, compro, por ejemplo, compro lotes de café. Entonces piso los lotes de café. Entonces el dinero permanentemente, lo que no tenemos que hacer es no tener capacidad de ahorro, sino capacidad de inversión.
One of Milei's most controversial proposals is replacing the peso with the US dollar, effectively giving up Argentina's control over its monetary policy. Supporters argue that this would eliminate the risk of inflation caused by reckless money printing. However, dollarization requires Argentina to hold large reserves of US dollars, which it currently does not have. While the country has been running a trade surplus, meaning it is bringing in more dollars than it spends, fully transitioning away from the peso would be a complex and risky process. But we need to look at the public response and political risks. While Argentina's economic indicators show signs of stabilization, the human cost of Milei's reforms has led to mass protests. Many argue that the supposed recovery is superficial and that austerity is hitting the working class hardest. However, recent polls suggest that a significant portion of the population understands that short-term pain may be necessary for long-term stability. The biggest challenge for Milei is political endurance. If his government is removed before his reforms take full effect, Argentina risks falling back into old habits: overspending, debt accumulation, and hyperinflation. Historically, every time a government attempted economic discipline, public frustration led to its removal, resetting the cycle of crisis. Can Argentina escape its economic trap? Radical problems require radical solutions, and Milei's strategy, while painful, has shown early signs of success. However, the ultimate test will be whether Argentina can endure the discomfort long enough for the benefits of these reforms to take root.
Todo eso está puesto para otros intereses y no para los intereses populares.
If Milei's policies succeed, Argentina could finally break free from its economic instability and regain global competitiveness. But if the pain becomes too much for the public to bear before real growth takes hold, the country could be headed for yet another political and economic collapse. The world is watching closely.